Hey folks, how's it going? This is Bill with Hanger Rats. Today we are just southwest of Bazaar, Kansas, little town out in the prairie where over 90 years ago we lost a world great Knute Rockne and TWA Flight 599. Stay tuned. This is one episode you won't want to miss. Welcome back. Knute Rockne, a renowned Notre Dame coach, world's most winningest coach, was born March 4th, 1888 in Voss, Norway. Rockne's parents emigrated to the United States when Knute was only 5 years old. Rockne grew up playing neighborhood football, and when he had enough money to enroll in Notre Dame, he enrolled at the age of 22 at Notre Dame University in South Bend, Indiana. One of the things that Rockne was known for was the forward pass. He and his buddy Gus Dorai refined the implementation of the forward pass in college football, also in professional football. A secret weapon when, back in the day, football teams weren't really traveling, so a lot of times it was a complete surprise to the other teams. Kind of interesting. Before that, there were some laterals, there were things of that nature, but no real downfield passing with any kind of accuracy. Following Rockne's graduation from Notre Dame, he accepted a position as an assistant coach with Notre Dame. He actually graduated with a degree in chemistry, engineering, something like that, but he elected to take the coaching position because it actually offered a little bit more money. After Rockne took the position of assistant coach, he went back to playing professional ball for a while, and then he ended up holding the position of head coach at Notre Dame for a position of about 13 years. On the evening of March 30th, 1931, Rockne stopped by his mother's house up in South Bend area for a birthday party. Following the birthday party, he then took the night train to Kansas City, where he would meet up with some other folks, and he was able to take the TWA flight out to the West Coast, Los Angeles, take a series of flights. He was going to take that the next morning on the 31st. While he was in Kansas City, after taking the night train on the morning of the 31st, he was able to meet up with his two sons who were at boarding school, his sons Bill and Knute Jr. At this time in his career, Rockne was also able to hold a position with the Studebaker Automobile Company as the Vice President of Sales Promotions. The main purpose for this flight was to meet with some film producers over in Hollywood to talk about a proposed film about Notre Dame football. Again, an extremely successful football program. In addition to being out there in Los Angeles, he was going to meet up with Will Rogers, American humorist, and do a joint appearance with him on a Wilson Sporting Goods store opening. After that, there were also plans to spend some time with some of the local area dealers, Studebaker dealers. TWA Flight 599 was scheduled to leave Kansas City the morning of the 31st. The flight crew would be Captain Robert Fry and First Officer or Co-Pilot Jesse Mathias. Interestingly, the Department of Commerce had just a month and a half previously made a two-man flight crew mandatory for any flights or any aircraft certified over 8 passengers. This would have been one of them. It is not known how well equipped the flight crew was working with each other, or if the pilot and co-pilot had flown together previously. Flight 599 would utilize a Fokker F-10A trimotor aircraft. The aircraft was powered by 3 Pratt & Whitney R1340 radial engines of a little bit over 400 horsepower, being earlier versions. The Fokker F-10A aircraft carried 14 passengers, cruised at approximately 120, sometimes faster than that miles per hour. The aircraft was constructed of typical materials of its day, steel tube fuselage with fabric covering, and then a plywood built-up wood structure for the main wing, again covered with a cotton or linen fabric. Several other airlines such as Pan Am, American Airways, Universal, and Western were also utilizing the Fokker 10A aircraft at this time. Rockne's trip to Los Angeles wasn't going to be a non-stop. This was the day where they actually had to hopscotch across the country. Rockne's trip to Los Angeles had planned to leave Kansas City with stops to Wichita, Amarillo, Albuquerque, and Winslow, and then on to Los Angeles. At 9:15 in the morning, TWA Flight 599 departed Kansas City with Rockne, the flight crew, and 5 other passengers. A little over an hour later, at 10:22, The co-pilot advised TWA base back in Kansas City of deteriorating weather with snow, drizzle, mist, and clouds. A perfect recipe for accumulating aircraft ice. The TWA base recommended that the crew continue the flight as they had weather information from Wichita which showed weather was sky clear and good conditions. So this was a front that Flight 599 was trying to penetrate. The crew was without items that we take for granted today. Weather radar, accurate radio navigation, GPS, crew coordination. This is a brand new crew. Checklists, things of that nature, weather services, and many other things that we today take for granted. These folks truly were pioneers and fishing their way through the sky. At 10:45, the aircraft suffered a structural failure and separation of the right wing. We don't know why, but it was surmised it was typically, or most likely, accumulation of ice and loss of control of the aircraft. The aircraft then plummeted from the sky uncontrollably to an area just southwest of Bazaar, Kansas, by a few miles in the middle of the prairie. All 8 people on board the aircraft were killed on impact. Knute Rockne, Notre Dame coach, world's most winningest coach, was dead at just 43 years old. At the time of the crash, the Department of Commerce, a distant predecessor of today's FAA, was just 5 years old. Through the various missteps investigating the Rockne crash, as the Department of Commerce had no official investigation arm, the investigation fell to some of the state authorities. Unfortunately, little was learned to prevent the crash from future similar accidents. Even Anthony Fokker, president of Fokker Aircraft Company, came and visited the aircraft and ruled that it wasn't his problem, it wasn't a design defect. Again, he had no idea to know what he had with any forensic kind of evidence. As a result, separate investigating bodies have been formed since that time. NTSB, TSB, such of those things of other countries. And after some of the inspections were developed, much more improved and better aircraft evolved. The Fokker F-10 series aircraft at that time were considered antiquated in the air commerce business, passenger carrying. As such, after this accident, most of those aircraft were relegated to cargo duties. The traveling public, as far as carrying passengers, that task fell on the existing Ford tri-motor aircraft of the time, an all-metal aircraft, albeit slow, but safer aircraft than the Fokker 10 series of aircraft. Boeing developed the Model 247 and then Douglas with a much improved, wider aircraft, the twin-engine DC Series 1, 2, and 3 aircraft that were so unbelievably successful in the 30s and 40s. Interestingly, 9 years later, Pat O'Brien would play the part of Rockne in the 1940 film Knute Rockne, All-American. A young actor by the name of Ronald Reagan would play the part of the ill-fated George Gipp, whose deathbed request of "win one for the Gipper" would go down in history. There's a phenomenal exhibit in the Chase County Historical Museum in the town of Cottonwood Falls, Kansas, about 12 miles north of the crash site. Unfortunately today, we are not able to access, or anyone is able to access, the Knute Rockne Crash Memorial. It is currently on private property. It is an active cattle ranch, and again, because of trying to make sure that the livestock do not escape out of there, it's a money-making private property. We understand that. It's not possible to gain access to the site. Currently, the Chase County Historical Museum is working with them, and hopefully between the Chase County Historical Museum staff and the landholders and Notre Dame alumni, hopefully the site will be open on a limited basis so that folks like you and I can go and check it out. Unfortunately, we're here on the side of the road, just a mile or two up the road. We'd love to go check it out. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some different pictures out there for you, show you what it is. But long story short, Fokker F-10, wing came off, there was rot, there was other things, incongruities that were found on what was found during the post-crash investigation. One of the biggest problems during the post-crash investigation was there was a lot of, we call it looting, not necessarily, it was souvenir hunters. So a lot of the evidence that was necessary in making some of the justification or some of the investigation summaries was actually removed by crowds coming up in that area. Very frustrating, but again, this is the 1930s. Investigation, post-crash, forensic type activity was in its embryonic state. So that's about it for us. We're up in Kansas. We're driving back from the Oshkosh AeroVenture on the side of the road. Bazaar, Kansas, B-A-Z-A-A-R, little hamlet here south of Cottonwood Falls. Again, if you have a chance, go up to the Chase County Historical Museum, visit those folks. Very nice presentation, and you'll even get to see a Rockne automobile, which was manufactured by the Studebaker Corporation. So until next time, hang a rats out.
Collins, you and Colrick will play the ends. In the same backfield, Jimmy, you and Collins, Chevney, and Nieming. Now, the success of any team, men, based on team play. Same as been shown all year. Sacrifice, unselfish sacrifice. These other fellows, they say, are pretty good, but I think we're better. And I think if we get ourselves keyed up to a point where we're confident of that, why, the results will take care of themselves. All right, now in the kickoff, if we receive, the three men drop back on the receiver and block long. That old Notre Dame style. And if we kick off, with the rest of these teams walk, let's run down fast. That's as fast as you can run. And then we go on defense. And on defense, I want the center in and out of that line, according to the situation. Use your old head. And I want you guards charging through as far as you can go on every play. They expect to play right over you every time. And the tackles, I want you to go in a yard and a half and then check yourself. Spread your feet, squat down low, and be ready with your hands and elbows. So you won't be sideswiped. But I want the ends in there fast every play, but under control. And you men in the backfield there, I want you to analyze before you move. And if they throw a forward pass, wait till you see the ball in the air, and then go and get it. And when we get it, boys, that's when we go on offense. That's when we go to. And don't forget, we're going to pick on one tackle that's on this week. We're going inside them. We're going outside them. Inside them and outside them. And when we get them on the run once, we're going to keep them on the run. And we're not going to pass unless our secondary comes up too close. But don't forget, man, we're going to get them on the run. We're going to go. And we aren't going to stop until we go to that goal line. Don't forget, man, today's the day we're going to win. They can't lick it, and the back out of the goal. The first whistle of the man go in there and fight. What do you say, man?